Dead by Daylight has a Gabriel Soma problem. Well, to be fair, Dead by Daylight actually has a whole lot of problems, but today I want to hone in on the issue with one survivor in particular. Out of the 43 survivors currently in Dead by Daylight, I'd argue that none have been treated less charitably than In Transmission's Gabriel Soma. You could make a case for a few others, but most of them are licensed and therefore out of behavior's control. Sure, it would be great to see new cosmetics or Rift lore or anything for Quentin Smith or Laurie Strode, but that's just not an option at the current moment. The Nightmare on Elm Street IP is a mess at the moment, so nothing is going to happen on that front. As for Laurie Strode, it really just doesn't seem like Halloween has any interest in providing DBD with more content for the time being, so while we can keep our fingers crossed, I mean look, we know if behavior could have blighted Michael right now, they would have had it, so I can pretty safely say that this is on the license holders end and not DBD's. Regarding original survivors who have gone a bad break, I'd argue that all of them have it better than Gabriel at the moment. Sure, Jonah is far from the most popular character, but he's actually been provided with a surprisingly decent set of cosmetics, and he's even been the focus of a tome, which, to be fair, so has Gabriel, but you know. Vittorio is somewhat controversial for his outfits, but he's gotten quite a few of them all the same, and there are people who really dig his style, so I think he's safely out of that category as well. People do like to point to characters like Felix, Elodie, and Zarina having mostly bad cosmetics, and while that's generally true, they are getting cosmetics. The devs are at least trying. Failing, I would say, yes, but trying all the same. No, the only survivor that comes close to matching Gabe when it comes to being abandoned by the devs is Hattie. And honestly, the similarities between these two characters are fairly striking. Both characters were released for one of DBD's big anniversary celebrations. Both were part of ambitious, highly original chapters. Both had very unique backstories when compared to most of the cast. By that, I mean that most survivors are just regular people that you could hypothetically see on the street. Meg is an athlete from Colorado. That's it, she runs, that's her story. Talita and Hinatu are just loving siblings from Brazil. They fly kites, they enjoy the beach, they're regular people. Jeff is a Canadian metalhead who loves his dog. Nia is a Swedish graffiti artist who has some issues with her parents. Ace is an Argentinian gambler who can't seem to turn things around. The list goes on and on. These are just mostly regular people. Compared to these backstories, Hattie and Gabriel are pretty unique. Hattie is a paranormal investigator whose childhood trauma unlocked psychic abilities within her, so pretty cool. And then there's Gabriel, who is a clone of another person and was born on a faraway planet in the Alpha Centauri star system. Both of these concepts are pretty far out there for what DBD is used to, and ultimately, I kind of feel like they're what doomed these two characters. Of course, before getting into why Gabriel is in such a tough spot, I'll address the Hattie situation. To me, it's obvious that in the very least, the devs like Hattie. They teased her as a character long before she ever joined the game, and when they did add her, they did so as the first original anniversary chapter in 4 years. So yeah, safe to say, they had some faith in Hattie. They did not capitalize on that faith particularly well, mind you, given she received almost no cosmetics in her first year plus of existence. And before anybody says that I'm making a mountain out of a molehill with this whole cosmetics thing, I will go on the defensive and say that cosmetics have become huge in DBD, especially for the players. Players love customizing their characters to fit their preferences and to suit their self-expression. It is not enough in this day and age for a character to have a solid base design. They need fun cosmetics too. For Hattie, the dev team singled her out after fan backlash as a character who would receive more love going forward. Of course, not to make light of it, but they made that announcement by talking about how many more cosmetic artists they had hired so that they could keep doing more cosmetics, and just recently they announced a huge wave of layoffs, so I don't know. That may be a thing of the past now. I'm not sure how it impacted that. Either way, I feel for everybody that got let go, and that is a truly unfortunate situation. It stinks. Either way, Hattie did see a noticeable uptick in cosmetics after that announcement, and whether you personally like these cosmetics or not, these new cosmetics I should say, I think most of them are pretty mid, sadly, if I could offer my 2 cents, that's not really the point. The point is that the devs are adding new cosmetics and trying to give Hattie mains more options, and they haven't all been bad. Some of them are good. I like the one with the ghost shirt. That's cool. For now, she is in an alright, if not ideal spot. I wish I could say the same for Gabriel. In just over a year since his release in June of 2023, Gabriel has seen very little in the way of cosmetics. What he has received has been, frankly, atrocious. Disregarding the color palette swaps and Twitch shirts that every survivor gets, Gabriel has been given 6 cosmetics. To show you the absolute state of this man, let's review all of the cosmetics real quick. Firstly, we have the Pioneer uniform, which was able to be earned through a fairly recent rift. Overall, this one's not great, but I do see what they were going for. They wanted something similar to Mass Effect or Star Trek clothing, which makes sense, I get it. You can also get this one in blue if that's your jam, because the Deep Rift cosmetics really love blue for some reason. I give it a 4 out of 10 for the yellow, 5 out of 10 for blue. Not great, not terrible. Then we get the Fire Moon Engineer skin. Easily Gabriel's most divisive skin. It's loud, gaudy, very easy to see if you're the killer, and worst of all, it's a set, which means you can't mix and match it. Still, this one is goofy enough to be fun, so while I can't say I would pay real USD dollars for it, it might scratch an itch for you. Another 4 out of 10 for me. We can then see the Frosted World skin, and oh goodness, this is terrible. The colors are drab. The silhouette is unflattering. My least favorite thing is that there's absolutely nothing you compare this with unless you're trying to make an intentionally ugly cosmetic. Complete flop from top to bottom. 1 out of 10. We get a minor palette cleanse here with the EVA suit. I like that it continues Gabriel's orange color theme, and I'm also a big fan of astronaut suits. I actually have one tattooed on my forearm, if that says anything. I don't really love the vines wrapped around the suit, and I wish the helmet wasn't cracked. An intact helmet would have been awesome. This one would also be tough to match with anything, but it's not horrible. It's better than most. It's a 6 out of 10. Finally, we get the Disrupted Roots skin, and I'll be honest, I mostly hate this one. The headpiece isn't bad at all, but the rest is just hard to look at. I can see where this might have looked good in concept art, but in execution, it is sorely lacking aesthetic appeal. 5 out of 10 because the cosmetic works in theory, if not in practice. And that's it for Gabriel's cosmetics for the time being. Now, it has been leaked that he will be getting a beach-themed skin soon, so I can't wait to see what behavior does with... Oh, never mind then. 2 out of 10. So it should be obvious that the devs have failed to entice potential Gabriel players with exciting skins. They range from mediocre to horrible, save for his base cosmetic, which is pretty solid. And to me, this is a case of behavior getting too caught up in a character's theme to do what's best for business. Yes, Gabriel is from a sci-fi chapter. Yes, some sci-fi cosmetics are to be expected, but no, they should not be the whole enchilada. Every character should have the option to slap on casual clothing and go for a laid-back aesthetic. I'm not even joking when I say that every survivor needs a pair of jeans and a casual tee to wear. They also need plenty of interchangeable items that they can mix and match, rather than cosmetics that are so distinct that they don't pair with anything but the set they came with. Almost all survivors are victims of this today, but none more so than Gabriel. He does have the sweaters from the Cats and Dogs and Christmas collections, but that's about it, and it's not enough. And look, his cosmetics are bad, we get that, but do people have a reason to play him for his perks? These days, I'd say really they don't. Made for This and Scavenger both released in pretty busted, very strong states, but they've both been nerfed way down. Scavenger is mostly useless these days, and Made for This has become a lot more niche than it used to be. The endurance effect is still nice, and the speed boost helps if you're being tunneled or, tragically, facing Legion, poor Legion, but that's about it. And then there's Troubleshooter, which I would argue is a little slept on. If you are in a solo queue and you want to avoid leading the killer to the generator with most progress, that's actually not a terrible idea, and this perk will do that for you. It's also nice to see the killer's aura for 6 seconds after throwing down a pallet, so as far as that goes, that can actually counter mind games from time to time, especially if they're trying to walk back and surprise you or something, so not amazing, but the perk does have its uses. Still, I don't think these perks are enough to make people say, oh, I just have to have Gabriel. I think most people are probably just going to wait for these perks in the shrine because none of them are must-haves. And even if they do want the perks, they're probably not going to stay on Gabriel to use them, unfortunately. Ultimately, what we have here is a bit of a modern DBD tragedy, in that we have a character with an awesome backstory, a great base design, and some perks that, you know, for a while they were very meta, and still there's at least one decent one. I'd argue two decent ones out of the bunch. So there's potential here, but ultimately, DBD got a little too lost in trying to make this the sci-fi character, and I really do feel like they lost the plot somewhere along the way. Worst of all is that this should be a very easy survivor to make cosmetics for, because Gabriel is just an extremely handsome character, and typically people do like to play the conventionally attractive survivors. There's a reason that Kate and Fengmin and Leon are so popular. It's because people like to see these kind of traditionally attractive people when they play their games. So Gabriel could be towards the top of the list. He could at least climb his way up towards the middle, but what they have to do to see that happen is give him something to work with. Give him something that he will actually look good in, instead of all of these just crazy far out there things that, you know, even if you like how they look, and I don't, but even if you do, if you like how his cosmetics look at the moment, I would argue that even people who are fans of them would not say they mix and match very well with other things. And that is a darn shame. But maybe I'm just way off base. Maybe there's a whole other reason that nobody plays Gabriel, and maybe I'm missing it. So please let me know down below, what are your thoughts on Gabriel? Do you think his cosmetics are bad? Do you think his perks are good? You know, share your thoughts. I'd be eager to hear. And if you want me to do a deep dive on any other character's cosmetics, I'd be open to that. I kind of enjoyed playing the role of a fashion designer for just a little bit here, so that was actually surprisingly fun. But either way, until the next video, I've been Das Food. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, friends.
I've been dreaming on in my head like I've seen it. A life worth living is a life with meaning. I'll do what I love till my heart stops beating. I'm feeding this demon. Got a taste, can't erase bitterness.